This is DJ Rubbish on the ones and twos.
And I just come here to let y'all know it's about to get real filthy in this mother.
Welcome to episode 28 of In Todd We Trust. We have Rima on the show today. Reminder that you can access the podcast on itwtpodcast.com for spoiler-free one-sentence reviews and ratings, episode descriptions, song of the week playlist and movie soundtrack playlist, and a submission form to be a guest on the show. You can listen to the podcast on Spotify and Apple Podcasts and watch on YouTube. Like I said, we have Rima here today. Dearborn star, local hero, celebrity, and owner of her own podcast, Dearborn Girls, which debuted last week, if you want to talk about that.
Yeah, thank you. Firstly, thank you for having me on.
Oh, yeah,
Feels
for
good
sure.
to be on the other side of the podcast.
Yeah.
So Dearborn Girl is our new podcast. My friend Yasmin and I debuted our podcast last week, and it's to showcase the Arab Muslim community, specifically Arab Muslim women, and highlight the amazingness that exists in our community. So check us out on any of the platforms. You can check out our YouTube channel, and if you want to just get a general idea, you can follow us on Instagram at dearborn.girl. Yeah, let us know what you think.
It's really good. So obviously Rima's being very, very modest, but it's a big deal. I went to their what was it, like date? Which I call it like a debut party,
Yeah,
or like
watch party.
Yeah, watch party for it last week, as they're doing a docuseries, and then also that all the episodes will be on YouTube, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so like super high production, really good message for all of them. Oh, someone's calling me. Wow. I'm sorry guys, I didn't have my phone on mute. Oh, shout out to Bianca. Bianca's FaceTime.
Hey,
me.
Bianca.
What's up, girl? I will FaceTime her back after this. But yeah, actually, Bianca's gonna be on the podcast in a couple weeks too.
What movie is she reviewing?
Toy Story, so another Disney. Toy
Okay,
Story
nice.
4. Yeah, I'm going to Chicago. So.
Amazing.
But yeah, check out Dearborn Girl. Dearborn Girls. Sorry.
No, you got it right.
Oh, it is Dearborn Girl.
Yeah.
Okay, got it. So I wrote it down wrong in my notes. Only knock on Rima is that she is a U of M grad. But I know deep down she wants to be a Spartan.
I'm
so.
a 3-time U of M grad. I don't think I'm ever going to the other side.
She's gonna switch over to the other
The
side
grass
soon.
is
It's not too
definitely
late.
not greener.
Yeah,
Nope.
It's literally green.
No. Pun intended.
Do you have a song of the week?
Yes, I was thinking about it. I love music, but my song of the week is actually "Say My Name" by Destiny's Child.
Oh, throwback.
I'm like a 90s R&B human. Like, that's just me.
Yeah.
Also, my goddaughter, that's like the only song that makes her smile. Just if she's crying and you sing like "Say My Name, Say My Name," she'll just like bust out laughing for some reason. And I think it's because her parents call her baby. Like, they won't ever call her by her name. And I feel
That's
like the
funny.
song resonates. So it's been stuck in my
That
head.
is a jam. I mean, it's a jam. Yeah, I can't knock you for that. My song of the week is "Julian" by Carly Rae Jepsen. I am not a huge Carly Rae Jepsen fan. But this song, actually, this new album is fire. I can't lie. It's a solid album. I think it's her 4th album. I heard someone say like 4th studio. I'm like, 4 albums? Like, all I remember is like "Call Me Maybe," and that was like super annoying.
I didn't even know she was a thing after "Call Me Maybe."
I
I
didn't
also
either.
live under like a rock sometimes. But.
Yeah. I mean, I didn't know either, and I actually like pop music, but I did not know that this was even coming, and then I saw it was like on like new hot albums for the week. Checked it out. It's a solid album. Like I said, my song for it is "Julian," but there's several bangers on this album dedicated. Would highly encourage you to go check it out. Hate on me if you want, but and don't knock it till you try it.
Right.
Now I have random rapid fire questions for you,
course.
if you're ready.
Of course.
All right, here we go. We got 10 of them.
For sure.
First, would you fly a magic carpet?
Absolutely. Who wouldn't?
I'd be a little nervous, I'm not gonna lie. What would your fake princess name be?
Wow, fake though?
Yeah,
so you're saying I'm not a princess?
Yeah.
I used to, this is it's so cliche and too relevant, and I'm probably gonna get so much shit for this after. But I pretend, I did this whole fake, Princess Jazzy thing, where it was Princess Jasmine.
Yeah, right.
But not really Jasmine.
Yeah, Jazzy.
So yeah, I made a song for one of my friends once, a rap song, and
That's amazing.
Yeah, it was Princess Jazzy.
That's great.
Yeah.
I also need to hear this. When was this?
Nope, it's private. It was a birthday song.
How long ago was this?
2 years ago.
Oh, so it's recent.
Yeah.
Oh, that's amazing. What would your 3 wishes be?
Wow. Ooh, I can't rapid fire this one.
I know, that's tough.
3 wishes would be...
I feel like that's one of those semi-common questions.
And you can't bring back, you can't do any of the things that the genie said,
exactly,
right?
yeah,
Okay.
you have the same stipulations.
I think that I would wish, well, right now, because it's most relevant, I think I would wish for our platform to be a global platform.
Okay.
I have high hopes for this platform, and so that would be number 1. I want Oprah to hit us up and be like, hey.
Okay.
I actually want Oprah to hit me up during the day of my graduation next year and say that I have to choose between my graduation and coming on Oprah, and so I can go in my gown and just go see Oprah.
That was great.
So that's
have it all
one.
planned so specific.
Number 2, I would definitely wish for. This is so hard. Oh my god, I'm being the worst person right now.
It's a tough question. I always do this every single week.
Let me come
random
back
fire,
to
and
this one.
You can come back. So some people will come back the end of that.
I'm trying to think of what I know what it is, and it
Yeah.
has something to do. So my parents are from the south of Lebanon, and
Okay.
something in the back of my mind that I really want to do is impact that community, because I
Yeah.
very much so feel indebted to and rooted in those communities in the
Yeah.
south, but they're just communities that I don't know enough about right now, and I
Right.
don't feel like money is the answer,
Yeah.
to helping people who are in need all the time. But it would definitely be to create something to make the livelihood of people in the south of Lebanon a lot better.
Okay. All right.
And then free Palestine.
Yeah. 3rd one. There you go.
The 3rd one is free
So
Palestine.
we got 3. All right. See, it wasn't even that tough. You knew what it was. You had to word it.
I had to think about it.
Now, if you were a genie, who would you want to find your lamp?
Wow. God, I can't say this out loud because then I'm going to compliment the person. If I was a genie, I think I would trust the genie in my brother's hands. My brother Ale, who's 5 years older than me, he actually called me right now, so I'll call him back.
Yeah.
And let him know that I said this.
Yeah.
But he's
That's
just
fine.
probably one of the best people, if not one of the best person I know.
Yeah.
And I know that he would use it for the greater good. So.
Yeah. Okay. That's a solid. I would probably.
And he
choose
would
my
free
sister
me.
too,
He
yeah.
would definitely free me at the 3rd wish. So
Yeah.
I would definitely choose him. Actually.
Okay. That's a good pick. Would you rather have a pet monkey, tiger, or parrot?
Definitely a tiger.
Yeah, for sure. 100%.
So cute.
What's your next travel destination for a place that you haven't been to?
If I wanted to go.
Yeah.
A place that I haven't been to, somewhere in South America. I haven't actually never been to anywhere in South America, and I think it would be between Brazil or Argentina.
Okay.
Yeah.
Solid. I've always wanted to go to Brazil as well.
Yeah.
Favorite Disney movie?
Definitely Lion King, hands down.
Yeah, 100%. Me too.
I'm literally telling people that if you come watch Lion King with me, I'm gonna be in New York this summer.
Yeah.
And if you come watch it with me, we're getting married.
Yeah.
Just right there and then.
I definitely gotta go see it. I'm gonna go see it. My sister's wedding is that weekend, so I'll be in San Fran. So I can't wait to go see that with my fam.
That's gonna be amazing.
Yeah, I'm excited. I don't know if I'm more excited for the wedding or for Lion King, but I'm excited for the weekend as a whole. First thing you do if you were Sultan?
If I were Sultan, the first thing I would do, I'm being so cliche, but genuinely the first thing I would do is I would get to know, kind of like what Jasmine was doing, and getting to know the people who they're not necessarily exposed to, or the people who are underrepresented or underserved, and really put my ear to the ground and hear about what the community needs.
That's good. I would probably get a Chipotle in the palace. Would probably be day
That's
one.
why my answers are so cliche and so boring. But if you knew me, you would know I'm telling the truth.
I believe you. I believe you.
Yeah.
I would definitely do. Yeah, I do Chipotle, in there first, and then I'll probably get like a Smoothie King next.
And then you'd invite people over.
Yeah, some people though, like I would definitely, it would be selective. So, you know, I definitely would look to help people, but, you know, maybe just get multiple
You
Chipotles.
can't help people on an empty stomach.
100%, yeah. If I'm on an empty stomach, then no one's getting help. Yeah, you're going to hate me.
That's funny.
Go to slushy flavor.
Mountain Dew.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, I get a different one every single week.
I
which
used
is
to
crazy.
mix them. I used to literally mix a million.
Yeah.
People didn't trust me until they tried it. And they're like, "Can you do mine here? Like, can you just make it for me?" And I'm like, "Yeah."
I mix my I'm not a soda drinker, but I mix my sodas when I go, when they have like the machine with 100+ flavors.
Same.
I get one of every single like flavor. My friends think it's like really childish and stupid, but I'm like, it tastes
really
like
good.
It's really good. I do mostly Sprite. That's the trick. That's the trick. So that's my secret.
It's kind of
people.
light.
Yeah,
not
it's
too
light.
potent, yeah.
So I do mostly Sprite, different flavors of Sprite, and then add in like
That's
you know.
smart.
If you had to rewatch the same movie for the rest of your life, what would it be?
Lion King. I've already rewatched it for the rest of my life.
Right. Yeah.
So I just don't.
It's my favorite movie of all time. So that's a great answer. Yeah.
I can't wait to watch that review.
Yeah. They better do a good job. My parents are reviewing it with me.
Oh, are they? That's amazing.
They are. Yeah.
That's
They
amazing.
told me.
Choice.
They like forced me into. They're like, hey, we're gonna review your favorite movie of all time this summer. I was
You
like,
shouldn't have
all right.
chosen anyone else.
Yeah, it fits. It fits. I'll be there. We'll be there for the wedding. It kind of all fits.
That's amazing.
So I feel like the last several weeks I've been complaining about my experiences at the movie theater, but it's because I keep going to the wrong theater.
Where do you go?
So I love Imagine Cinema, but the Riviera Cinema in Farmington Hills is the worst one by far. But it's right next to where I work.
I've never been there.
Yeah, it's the worst one for sure. It's the worst Imagine, and I'm going at bad times too. I'm going on $5 Tuesday when I know it's going to be packed for popular movies. And then you go to a kids movie, so there's going to be kids in there screaming, yelling, crying.
Right.
And people are just so inconsiderate. Like, that's what you realize is, there's a lady who's like, someone was in her wrong seat. So she stands in front of me. Like, I'm not the wrong seat. It's like one over, roll back, but just completely ignoring the fact that, like, you're not made of glass. So that annoyed me. Also hate when it's a huge movie theater like that in a theater where you pick your own seats and you can see where someone's sitting and you still end up sitting next to me. Like, I like having a space. And then I was thinking to myself, like, is it worth it to just buy 2 seats from now on Friday or Tuesday just so I don't have to sit next to someone?
Wow.
I was like, maybe I look into
That's
like.
unfortunate that you had to even think about that.
I hate being right next to people. That's probably a personal problem more than
but
anything.
like, yeah.
But and then I was like, wait, maybe I should look into like, not immediately right now, but franchising theaters, since I love going to movie theaters. Like, I wonder how much it would be like franchise a theater when I get older.
That would be such a cool way to connect like this podcast to like
you know what, that would be a crazy
thing.
yeah that would be a
Cool.
crazy connection. So we'll see. Yeah, so maybe there'll be like a Todd Imagine theater somewhere sometime soon. So TBD. But to the movie. So the IMDb description, if you're not familiar with Aladdin, which I'm sure you probably are, with the original, a kind-hearted street urchin and a power-hungry grand vizier vie for a magic lamp that has the power to make their deepest wishes come true. It was released last Friday, May 24th. Notable cast, we have Will Smith. I do not know how to pronounce the actor for Aladdin.
What's his name?
Mena, and then how do you pronounce
Mena
it?
Masood.
Yeah, I was gonna guess. That's why I was gonna guess that. So
Yeah, I honestly don't know how to pronounce his first name either. It's not a common name.
Naomi Scott as Jasmine, and Nassim Pedrad as Dahlia. She's also from New Girl, so that's why I recognize her from. I love that show.
Okay.
Did you watch New Girl?
I watched a few episodes and
Okay.
her face looked familiar.
Yeah.
I didn't connect it.
Yeah, she's in it. So I recognized her. I follow her on Instagram. I saw she was posting a lot about Aladdin, but I don't know why I just didn't think she was in it. Yeah, I thought she was just like really cool with the cast, and I'm like, okay, that's dope. Director is Guy Ritchie, who also did Sherlock Holmes. The first Sherlock Holmes is really good. They're coming out with a third. The second one was trash. I don't know if I'll watch the third. King Arthur, Legend of the Sword, that came out 2 years ago. That wasn't bad. It's more of an at-home movie. I don't know if you go to the theater to see it. And then The Man from U.N.C.L.E., which was horrible. So kind of shaky, Guy Ritchie. And then I'll go on my rants about this movie as well. Screenplay by John August, who also did Charlie and the Chocolate Factory, terrible remake of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, which is one of my favorite movies. Big Fish, Charlie's Angels, Full Throttle, and Frankenweenie. So a weird assortment of movies that he's written screenplays for. Runtime for this movie, 2 hours and 8 minutes. Again, I mentioned this several podcasts ago, but how I feel like that like range is super popular right now as far as like movie times.
Yeah.
Like right in that like I was going through last week was like 2 hours 10 minutes, like right around like not past somewhere between 2 hours and like 2 hours 20 minutes is like the sweet spot now. All right, so do you have any initial thoughts that you'd like to get off your chest before we get into the...
No, let's just get into it.
All right, so going to see this movie, this is the least... So I love... Let me preface it. I love Disney.
Right.
Really, really love Disney. Have the soundtrack, have playlists on my phone. Definitely grew up a huge Disney kid. I've never been less excited for a Disney film. Like, I was not excited to go see this movie.
Why?
It looked like it was going to be whack from the... Like,
wow.
I was like, it did not look like it was going to be... And the original Aladdin is one of my favorite Disney films.
So you walked in with... Why did you walk in with low expectations?
Couple things. So I think, one, a lot of the previews aren't really grabbing me. Two, as much as I love Will Smith, I didn't think that he was going to be a better genie than Robin Williams. Because I think it's just an iconic role and a perfect... I think certain roles are just perfect fits. Robin Williams also being so great at impersonations and voices, like that's a huge part of what Genie was in the first one. So that worried me. The CGI effects of how Will looked worried me. Disney's live action whole campaign right now worries me in general because there is a lot of hit or miss. I just saw Dumbo and reviewed that. Was not a huge fan of Dumbo, but like Jungle Book was really good. Maleficent was really good, and I'll talk about the difference between what they're doing with those and what they're doing with this and Dumbo, and some of the misses. Right. But that had me a little worried. So each one I'm going into kind of like hesitant. This one, especially like from the previews to I think maybe it was... I think they released the second trailer that kind of got me excited, but other than that, like everything else I kind of saw and it just wasn't grabbing me.
Yeah, I felt the same way.
Yeah, so that's... Yeah, I was about to say, yeah, how did you feel? Like,
yeah, I mean, I also just didn't really like Aladdin that much.
The original?
Yeah,
okay.
because I'm Arab and we grew up hyper aware of like the stereotypes that now are mainstream. Like people are now aware of like the really negative or single story ways that they portrayed us.
Yeah.
Obviously, like I love Princess Jasmine just because I'm like, oh, she's Arab and I'm Arab,
right.
When you're a little kid. But even just objectively, it was never one of my favorite Disney movies.
Yeah.
But going into this one, I was already expecting to be underwhelmed and then possibly even offended by certain parts of it. Yeah. So I went in with that very low expectation as well.
Yeah. So in this one, were there parts that you felt were offensive?
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
We're not Indian. Like
yeah.
I love the Indian community.
Yeah.
We don't dance like that. Like
yeah.
that was literally a Bollywood like dance. And,
yeah.
and maybe I'm wrong, but I've seen Bollywood before, and that looked way closer to Bollywood than anything that I've seen ever. Not just here in our community, but also in the Middle East. Like there were so many parts where they've conflated our culture with other cultures.
Just out of ignorance?
Out of ignorance, but the irony, and I was reading up on this before coming on the show, they actually, in an effort to be preventative in perpetuating those same issues, they had like a whole committee of people who, I'm going to read it directly just because it's like, it's actually really funny.
Yeah, I remember you said you had an article.
They had, I'm going to read this part. So they wanted to avoid repeating the same problems in the live action version of Aladdin. So they sought advice from a community advisory council comprised of Middle Eastern, South Asian, and Muslim scholars, activists, and creatives. An old professor of ours at the University of Michigan, Evelyn El-Sultani, is one of the women who was asked to be on that. And so she writes an article talking about how they tried to consult with us on how to not do the same stuff that they did in the first Aladdin. And they kind of like in her... she puts it really nicely, but basically says that they dropped the ball. Because there were some of the parts where it's just like, what? Like, so I think it was just a depiction of us in general. You always run the risk of kind of like exoticizing us, and that's something I've dealt with my whole life as well, where people don't understand your culture. They depend on what they see in the mainstream media.
Right.
And a lot of times what they see is like this image of us as like these really exotic or Orientalist figures, which is like very far from the truth.
Yeah.
And I think that the movie definitely perpetuated a lot of that.
Interesting, yeah. It's, I always love hearing about things that I'm ignorant to as well, like things that I wouldn't have picked up on.
Yeah.
Right? Just because out of me not having enough information. So it's always interesting to hear like that perspective.
Yeah.
It's super interesting hearing the perspective of they went out to prevent that.
Yeah.
And I wonder where they missed. Like, did they not take suggestions from that council? Did they only let the council in on certain decisions and not enlighten them on some of the other things that they were doing? And maybe that's the stuff that went unnoticed. And then also, I think another part that's really important is no matter who you get, like one person or 5 or 10 or 15 people can't speak for an entire
100%.
group of people.
Absolutely.
You can't generalize. So like when someone will ask me like, is this offensive to black people? And I was like, even if I say no, it's not offensive to me, that doesn't mean that it's okay for you to just do that for every black person that you come across. So you can't generalize. So I think it speaks to that as well.
Yeah.
So that's
I'm
that's
glad
very
you said that. I have very strong opinions about this because as someone who has a platform of my own, I am the epitome of what it means to be a Dearborn girl, and like what that means is like Arab Muslim girl with a certain vibe, certain attitude, educated a certain, like in certain schools, we talk a certain way, we look a certain way, we act a certain way. But even with that, like there's a lot of like, I guess we've kind of branded ourselves. I would never claim to represent anyone but myself.
Right.
I represent my community as an individual, but I cannot speak on behalf of even people who have the same exact identity markers as me and have grown up in the same household as I have. Like I don't think anyone should do that. And so when people use their platform and perpetuate what's called like the single story, like this idea that everyone is just this two-dimensional figure, it's kind of, it's really harmful, honestly.
100%.
In the long term. There was one thing I wanted to say about like your point about like, I wonder did they let them in on certain decisions or like where they dropped the ball. I think people don't realize the implicit like and subconscious biases that they walk in with. So I'm walking in trying to understand, let's say I have a committee of people from a certain race, like let's say I'm trying to talk about, like even when I was just talking about my parents are both from the south of Lebanon. I didn't grow up there, right? So let's say I get a committee of people in that community, and I sit down with them. If I don't walk in with as clean of a slate in my brain as I possibly could have, I'm gonna look at anything they say or do through the lens that I already brought with me. And so I think that's what might have happened is like they had good intentions walking in and having this committee, but if they didn't cleanse the lens that they walked in with, they're gonna take all of that feedback and just kind of like taint it with the lens that they already walked in with, and then implement that in a way that's not really responsible.
That's a good point. That's really great point. I hadn't really thought of it that as I'm viewing it, I hadn't thought about that. So I'm glad I had you on as a guest to bring that up. But I definitely think they dropped the ball. I mean, that's not what I had down for why they dropped, but they dropped the ball in a lot of other ways too, just from even just entertaining standpoint. Even if you are a person like I said, like me, who wasn't even aware about everything you just shared, that I didn't like from the original. And obviously as an original, as a kid, I'm not aware of, I don't even know, the first time I probably watched it, I didn't even know about like biases and all that stuff, because you're innocent, you're a kid, you're just watching a cartoon,
which sucks because then you're most like susceptible to those messages because you're not filtering them.
No, you don't know any difference. I didn't know what I didn't know what racism was when I first watched this film, so that type of stuff. But I think that just from the story and comparing it to the original, they didn't have a lot of backstory going into this one. You start off with like Will. Will. Okay, so I have a lot to say about Will, but I love Will Smith. He has the greatest Instagram account ever.
He does. That's someone who uses his platform very responsibly.
And he's always been. You go back to Will. He's always been the super positive, outgoing, like loving guy. Like he always. And when's the last time you ever heard anything negative about Will Smith? Never. Bad pub. Never. Right. So I have the utmost respect for Will. I never want to hear him sing again in a movie, ever.
That's so funny.
I never want to hear him sing again in a movie. It opens with that. Like I said, they didn't give us a lot of backstory. I think they relied on us having seen the original.
Yeah, that's true.
Which, honestly, I would have... If you're going to do this, I feel like they would have been better off fresh, clean slate, trying to market to the younger kids who hadn't seen the original, not to the people like me who have seen the original and love the original.
You have a framework that you're comparing it to, so now you're dropping the ball on both ends. I honestly was at the beginning. I was expecting them to just remix the whole movie, which I probably would have preferred.
You know, I would have, and I'm going to talk about that at the end, but I definitely think they should have went a different route. I think in general with these type of movies, they need to go a different route. Disney, you know, definitely needs to go a
Except
different
for
route.
Lion King, don't change Lion King, don't change a thing.
Do not either, don't even get me started on Lion King. They better not mess it up.
I would be so
Lion
sad. I
King
would
better
be
be,
crying.
there's no reason for them to mess up Lion
If
King.
they don't make me cry when Mufasa dies, they messed up.
Right.
So bad.
Right? It's like, I still fast forward. I fast forward that part every time.
Really?
Every time.
I like to
if it's on TV live, I turn it off and wait.
Just like watch it.
Oh, every time it goes off.
Somebody.
Yeah. Anybody, yeah, no. Every single time. When that hat, like, as soon as Long Live the King throws him off, fast forward to when he wakes up with Timon and Pumbaa. Every single time.
You're so emotional.
I can't watch that part. But yeah, they dropped the ball there with the backstory. Also differences from the original. I was annoyed, like I said, I was annoyed very early on. Again, I went in that way, like I was already ready to be disappointed. They changed and now you're gonna hear me say a whole bunch of really petty changes, but
okay.
because I love,
this is what you do, yeah,
because I love the original and because I loved, I really love Disney. And you watch a movie over and over again. I watched the cartoon, the Aladdin cartoon that came on.
Wait, can I
Disney.
guess one of the petty changes?
What?
Because this low-key pissed me off a lot, and it was so petty. So I didn't even talk about it.
Okay, what is it?
Why did they make him eat dates instead of bread?
Oh, I didn't even think about that.
That bothered me. The bread looked so good in the cartoon.
It did,
and then
it really did.
he stole the bread and then he gave it to the babies.
Yeah, dates. Who wants dates? Yeah.
But like it was like, bruh, like you could have found a really nice
Just get a
loaf of bread.
yeah.
Like it'll make me feel the way I felt when I was young.
Yeah,
and
right?
I was watching it. Okay.
Yeah,
I guess I'm very petty. Too.
No, that's fair. No, I mean again, I don't understand the unnecessary, like. They took creative liberties on things that didn't need to be changed.
Mm-hmm.
There was no reason, there's no reason to change that. Change the landscape of Agrabah. Like, Agrabah was like, I remember what the castle looked like.
Mm-hmm.
Why, for what? Why change it? Like, just because you were just like, oh, we're going to switch, like, unnecessary switches.
Mm-hmm.
Why alter the script? They switched different things around. Again, if you're going to alter the script and make it more appropriate and more culturally relevant and sensitive, then do that.
Right.
But you didn't do it. So you already you dropped the ball on that, obviously. So if you're not gonna do that, you might as well just kept the original. Or not made it at all. Like just leave it. Why is this 38 minutes longer than the original? So I think that you have to, I said this with Dumbo too. Like the remake Dumbo was like twice as long as the original. Why are you making these movies like the original is perfect? What, you didn't give me 38 minutes worth of good content to make it longer. So that didn't make sense. Again, right now I'm just going through all the complaints, but just get it off my chest. Ton of CGI that they had in this movie, right? So a ton of CGI. So they should have gotten it. I don't know, to be honest with you. I know what it is. I just don't know what it. But, so like Genie was CGI, the monkey was CGI, the tiger was CGI, like that. Yeah. So I actually don't know what it stands for. I probably should know that.
No,
it's certain acronyms that you just use all the time that you don't even know.
Sure.
But yeah, so they should have got those effects better. Like, if you're gonna have that, like the genie effects pissed me off because it wasn't terrible, but like to compare it to a film that I just recently reviewed, Pokemon, like Detective Pikachu, that the CGI for that was amazing.
Wow.
So if you're gonna do this, Disney, come on, don't cut corners. Never Had a Friend Like Me. One of my favorite Disney moments, like that song. The lyrics, Robin Williams, the effects, the whole performance. One of my favorite Disney moments. I'd say that's probably a classic Disney moment, like even just for anyone. They butchered it.
Yeah.
They definitely butchered it.
I mean, even A Whole New World, it just fell flat.
Yeah. Like, what are you all doing?
Why did they add, listen, we can save this because I have a lot of opinions about this one, but the Speechless song, where she's like, I won't go speechless. I hope you will, because you need to stop singing.
Yeah.
Please shut up.
Yeah, she had to stop. I'm glad. So
we can talk about that though, but
we can talk about it now. So the Speechless song.
This is my opinion. This is I can literally see this playing out. This group of people, producing, directing the film, whatever, and going and consulting with this board of Middle Eastern, South Asian, Muslim people, and trying to understand something. And so a lot of times, and this happens to us, and honestly, this happens to us in real time with the Dearborn Girl podcast. People walk in with all their assumptions about how Arab or Muslim women live, and when they ask us questions and we answer them, you can tell that they haven't left their implicit biases behind at the door, because they code our responses in their bias, right? And so they still walk out of the door believing that we're oppressed women who are silenced and subservient to our men, and our men are extremely oppressive. And like, spend a day in our houses and like you'll know that that's not true. And so I think that was a situation where they wanted to like paint the modern day Muslim woman. They thought they were doing our community a favor by depicting Jasmine the way they depicted her, where she's just speaking out against all these men, and then these men just start evaporating, including her father. I don't know if you paid attention to that part. And like the dad evaporates and they all dissolve, and like then she becomes Sultan. And like, don't get me wrong, I'm all for women empowering themselves, right? I just thought that the way that they did it was not tasteful at all. I felt like they didn't complicate the narrative at all. They just made it the same old narrative of oppressive man, women being oppressed in silence, women has to like fight, like speak out against these men and just like sing this really annoying, obnoxious song about not going speechless. And it's just like, there's so much more to that narrative, and they try to make it seem like Arab and Muslim women are the ones who, like, white women are oppressed, black women are oppressed, like all women around the world are oppressed, you know, and like things don't look the same from culture to culture. That oppression manifests itself differently. But for some reason, like, people are obsessed with freeing, you know, and like giving liberty to the Arab Muslim woman when that's not true. Like, that's like the antithesis to like what it means for us to self-liberate. You know? So
I agree.
I just was shuddering the whole time, like, oh my god, stop.
It's cringeworthy. You know, I'm tired of like the really forced narrative here. Like, when you try to put these pieces in, again, that piece did not fit for the moment
at all.
They just threw in this you know, this song at a point where it didn't make sense. The whole narrative wasn't female empowerment. They just threw it in there. At the end, she becomes Sultan. Instead of the Sultan changing the room, she becomes Sultan. Again, doing this, it's very forced. And if you watch enough movies, you're noticing. So all the movies are doing it. It's obviously, you know, you'd like to believe that it's done out of people genuinely trying to bring attention and awareness to the issue, and them actually trying to empower. But it feels opportunistic. And you know, I'm starting to notice trends. So I wrote down a list. So I'm going through and I'm like, man, I feel like I keep talking about this on the podcast. And I went through. So here's a list of all the movies I've reviewed thus far, and I've only been doing this for half a year. That include either a strong female lead, and they're like really. And that's not necessarily bad. Like, don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that's a bad thing, but again, I'm feeling like it's feeling opportunistic at this point, and you know, it's becoming a trend where it's just like, okay, we're going to try to make money off of this message, because this is what's talked about, right? But you know, it includes a female lead, female focus, has a component in it where they do this really campy, like whether it's a song or, you know, in Avengers where all the women at the end come together and they have the scene where they're all walking in slow motion and about to fight, and they tell the guys like, we got this, and this is really corny. And it feels like they put it in at the end of the movie instead of like it was in the original script that they did a while ago. It's like, ooh, this is like everyone will love this. You know, this might make headlines, and it, you know, it's like, we get what you're doing. Long Shot, I just reviewed. Obviously, Charlize Theron is a powerful woman, and you know, the Seth Rogen is the nerdy guy who ends up with her, but she's super powerful, and you know, it's an oppressive. She works for an idiot, oppressive president, and all this stuff. So, Long Shot, Avengers, like I just mentioned that moment. Little, which yep, exactly. Little. Dumbo had a component in that where they made mention of that. Where the young girl wanted to be, I think she wanted to be a scientist, and you know, the guy told her like, "Ha, you could never be a scientist." And it was like, I think her own father like put her down, and you know, someone told her, don't let anyone tell you what you can't be, something like that. And it was like, it was out of place, it just didn't fit. Us, obviously, Lupita Nyong'o, you know, leading the charge there, and she definitely should get an Emmy for that, or Oscar, I'm sorry, for that performance, playing both the hero and the villain. How to Train Your Dragon had a component of that, where the female dragon that comes into play in this one is like the most powerful dragon and all that stuff. Captain Marvel, obviously. Isn't It Romantic? With Rebel Wilson playing on romance stereotypes, and you know, she's the lead woman in this. The Lego Movie 2 even had a component in there where, and I talked about it on that podcast, where You know, a lot of times movies reflect current issues. Mary Poppins, obviously. Ralph Breaks the Internet had a huge scene where Disney, they had all the Disney princesses, and they're talking about how, you know, the stereotypes where a man has to save them. I mean, they go on it for like a good 5, 10, 15 minutes talking about it in that movie. Crazy Rich Asians, you know, speaks on it as well a little bit.
Yeah.
And then strong female lead. So you're seeing a trend, and I'd like to think that, again, it's just people being inclusive and having like pure intentions with it.
Right.
But ultimately, I know they're making money. So, you know, they're a business, so they're doing this intentionally. Like I've spoken before about like Black Panther, how that movie was the first Marvel movie to come out in February during Black History Month, and you're getting like that's part of marketing. Like don't get it twisted. Like the people at the boardroom, they're not doing this because they're like, we really want to empower. It's because they saw that like, okay, the power of the black dollar, and then they capitalized on that. So.
100%. Aladdin came out during Ramadan. That's a huge deal, you know. And I thought, I kind of side-eyed that too, and I was wondering, like, was that intentional? You know, I always have mixed feelings about wanting to capitalize on culture without truly empathizing with or appreciating it. And I always have like, I don't have mixed feelings. I have strong feelings. About that, but
Agreed. So. You know, we're not stupid. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we're not stupid. Like, we see what you're doing. Like, you know, and it might work. You might make money from it, but like, you know, it's not slick. You're not subtle.
It's not slick.
So you know, again, going on with all the things I had to say about Aladdin and why it bothered me. It was subtle change in the lyrics. It was like one song, like One Jump had like one lyric change, like one line change, and I was pissed. And I was like, why? But why would you like? It's petty, but at the same time, like, why would you change?
I wonder.
It was. I was gonna write it down, but I was like, Todd, don't do that. That's not necessary.
You're so funny.
It was. I can't remember.
Now you wish you wrote it down.
Right now, I wish I wrote it down.
It's okay.
But yeah, it was one line change, and I was if I heard it again, like I'd know right away what it was. Like as soon as he said it, but I was like, no, that's why would you do that? It was not necessary at all. It didn't change the meaning or anything. It was like they literally just changed the line. It's almost as if they didn't know the original lyrics. Like I said, I wrote down both Jasmine songs were whack. So we talked about the last one. The first one was whack too. I don't even remember what the first one was. I don't know.
She did Speechless 2 different times.
Oh, that was it both Speechless?
Once, and then I'm like, ugh. And then it came back, and I'm like, please no.
Oh, so it was Speechless again. It was the same
thing.
She did
it twice. I was annoyed both times.
Like, what were you doing with me? A Whole New World is actually one of my go-to karaoke songs, so that hurt me too. That they messed that up.
Flat.
It didn't get it. Going through the characters. So Genie and Will Smith, which I talked about earlier with the CGI and him, you know, taking over the role that Robin Williams had prior.
Right.
Like I said, never want to hear him sing again.
Yeah.
Him replacing Robin Williams to me was like Jared Leto replacing Heath Ledger for Joker. Like, it was on that line
hard.
Of like, you can't.
It's just tricky though. It's like it's a lose-lose situation.
It is.
So like I think I actually really enjoyed Will Smith because I came in knowing I was watching Will Smith, not the
you know
Genie.
what that and that's,
I was watching Will Smith. Like I was not watching the Genie. I was watching Will Smith be the Genie, and like to me that was cool because I love Will Smith, and I think he made it his own.
Yeah.
But obviously, like I knew I wasn't watching the Genie that I watched when I was a little kid.
Right.
So that I actually think Aladdin was a perfect Aladdin though. That's a good thing I will say.
You did like Aladdin.
I did like Aladdin as Aladdin.
I did not like Aladdin as Aladdin.
Go ahead, tell me.
I didn't think he was a good actor, but at the same time, I had to analyze everyone's acting, and then it was like, you know what? I think Disney gave them like this direction that was really campy and like corny and stuff like. And when you're trying to act like cartoons, right? Which you just can't. So then you come across like a clown, like it's like
things that people don't normally say or do.
Right.
Yeah.
And in the cartoon, it made sense and it fits, but like when you try to do that same thing as a person, as a real person, it's kind of weird.
Yeah.
And I think also when you're constantly comparing, you know, when you are using the same, you know, me wanting to see the exact same line, the exact same story.
Right.
When you do that as a real person, it's weird.
It's weird.
So I get it. That's tough. That's a tough line to straddle.
He sounded just like him. Like his voice
was
good.
They did find a good sound.
He looked like him.
He did. Yeah.
So I felt like he was Aladdin. Jasmine was definitely not Jasmine.
No.
At all.
No, that didn't fit it. She didn't fit
at all. Was Dahlia a thing in Aladdin in the cartoon? Okay.
No, Dahlia was
one
not.
Other positive-ish thing that I will say though that I noticed, and this is because so the way that you look at like film and like notice all those little details, that's how I am about like race and like those kinds of issues. And I noticed that any person in a subordinate position was lighter skinned than their superior. And I was just like, wow, okay. And I felt like that was intentional.
Yeah.
And I think the reason that, like Dahlia was lighter than Jasmine.
Yeah.
So I guess like the genie's tricky, but him being the most powerful, like him being deemed the most powerful and being a black man, like I'm constantly like saying that.
Yeah.
I think I don't. There were a couple, or at least one other example that I remember, like I pointed out and I wanted to say, but I found that was interesting because oftentimes we're so conditioned to see the person who's in like a servant position as someone darker than like the princess. So that was interesting.
Yeah, that is.
And then like the one that was like made out to look like the biggest idiot was the white guy.
Yeah.
I'm like, okay, Disney.
Right. Yeah. Definitely. Yeah. Intentional.
Yeah.
Definitely intentional. Trying to reverse the script there a little bit.
Yeah.
Again, they're like, again, going back to Black Panther. Marvel's under Disney now, so Disney's doing a lot of this stuff intentionally.
Yeah.
They're overseeing the Marvel Studios as well as the Star Wars franchise. You see the Star Wars franchise, when they did this re-up, it's a female Jedi that's the lead for this one, right? So they're doing stuff intentionally. Again, my thing is I know they're doing it to make $1 and to capitalize.
Yeah.
The plus though, the really really big plus is that kids don't know that. So
that's
the kids see that and they're like, then this is becoming normal for them, which is really cool.
For sure.
So that type of stuff is like, you know what? Even though that I'm smart enough and I can look at it, at least the kids don't.
Yep.
So they're seeing this, which is important. And I'm not saying kids are seeing this and they're just saying the same thing. So I don't want to see. I think it should be mixed in. Mm-hmm. So you see different types of heroes.
Yeah.
Like you don't want the scales to tip all the way over. Mm-hmm. Like you don't want every hero to be black and every hero to be a woman, but you do want some. You want it to be evenly. It should be evenly dispersed. Everyone can be a hero. Everyone can be a leader. Everyone can. So that I'm definitely not here to say like everyone should just look just like me. No, because then you just get the same problem, but on my side instead of the other side. So I think it should be no.
I don't think it could ever be the same problem. But I have very like strong opinions about this stuff.
Yeah.
And this is something that Yasmin and I actually talk about a lot with the podcast, and it's I can just turn it back around on us just so it's more relatable. But I think that when things are so unfair in society, sometimes in order to bring it closer to fairness, you need to tip the scale way over to the other end because of the fact that it's already tipped so far in a different direction.
Right.
And a perfect example is that Dearborn is obviously a large Arab community.
Right.
Majority of those Arabs are Lebanese.
Yep.
Lebanese people are the lighter skinned Arabs, and a lot of times perpetuate colorism within our community.
Yeah.
And one thing that we've been trying to be super, super aware of in our episodes is having over 50% or more of our episodes be non-Lebanese women.
Yeah.
Even though that doesn't match the demographic of Dearborn, like it's actually difficult for us to get that representation because of the fact that we, like Lebanese people, are the most populous.
Right.
It's so important and urgent for those reasons that we like tip that scale so that what people are seeing, like we're challenging the norms that people see.
Yep.
And so like I think in modern day society, just to bring it back to movies, like you don't see black people in these positions. You don't see women of color in these positions.
True.
And in order to really start cracking like your norms in your head of what you're seeing and what you're perceiving as like normal, you need to kind of like overexpose, I think, the other side of the story.
So I 100% agree with that. 100% agree. I just don't think it should stay that way. Like I think if you tip the seesaw, like cool, like because you're right, it's a lot of making up to do. So even if they did it for the next 100 years,
and they
like
won't.
That, right? They won't. Yeah, absolutely, it won't. But
you can never ask for too much.
No,
I don't think those asks will be delivered on our terms.
100%. But exactly. Yeah, it'll never be that way, right? Like it's always going to be, and it'll always be an issue of racism, classism, prejudice, and not just again not just with race, but a lot of different areas, and but I think realistically the scales will never be tipped all the way, fairly and be balanced out. But in ideal world, you would like to see everything evenly distributed in a perfect world. That'll never happen, but in a perfect world. But Jasmine was not Jasmine. The Sultan. You know, the Sultan shouldn't. I pictured him being short, just like he was.
There's
like,
so many men who look like that in real life. Like, they really needed to just find someone who looked just like the Sultan.
Like, literally get Peter Dinklage to play
so
the Sultan. Like, he should have been Sultan.
There's so much to his character being this short, cute little dainty guy, you know?
Yeah.
And I feel like they ruined it.
Yeah, like he was like always like really simple and stuff like that in the cartoon and the in the movie.
What I do love, though, I will say again, a positive in light of all the negative. And this is something that stuck true for the first Aladdin as well. I love the way they characterize the father-daughter relationship because I think they did do a decent job complicating, like, how things are with our dads, where our dads truly want what's best for us and truly want us to live a life that they believe will lead to happiness. And I think the Sultan was never forceful with Jasmine, even in cartoon form.
Right.
And that's how it is with our dads. Like, they're not, and I know a lot of times mainstream media, like, would depict it differently.
Yeah.
And that's kind of why I appreciated them, like, making the relationship look like what it is in any household with a father and his daughter, of them being overprotective sometimes, but really wanting what's best for her and wanting her to be happy. And then when she does challenge him and prove to be right about it, they're happy for us because they were always wanting our happiness. It wasn't like they wanted us to live like a life based on their terms, you know?
Yeah,
and I think
exactly.
that sometimes when they do try to characterize Middle Eastern women or Muslim women, that's kind of like, they try to make it seem like the father is oppressive and trying to force a lifestyle on the woman when it's just them being loving fathers. Yeah. So I did kind of appreciate the Sultan Jasmine dynamic, especially towards the end.
Yeah, I thought it was clever how they did the. Again, why change the original if you're not going to make it for the better? But how they changed the dynamic of, like, the motive for why Jafar wanted to be Sultan and her mother dying and, him wanting to invade her mother's, homeland and stuff. So that was interesting how they kind of switched that up, which led me to a point I have at the end of what they could have done better and how they could have changed the script. Jafar wasn't imposing enough. Like, I feel like he, like, in the movie, he kind of he was scary. In the original, like, he looked creepy, right?
He was
like,
kind of cute in this one. I was like, oh,
you're on the other side, man. You're rooting for Jafar.
I hated his personality, but he was kind of cute. I'm like, okay, I don't feel disgusted looking at him.
Right.
So
they didn't. He wasn't like super imposing.
And that's another thing. Jafar was super dark in the cartoon.
Yeah, he
and
was.
so I was like, oh, that's good.
Scar super dark, the darkest line.
Yeah, that used to piss me off.
Yeah.
The hyenas had like Latino accents. Horrible.
So with the humor, again, they hit and miss with a lot of the humor. But when he was in there trying to impress her, the initial time when he was like Prince Ali, and he was just making a fool of himself, and Will Smith looked at him and said, he said, it's cold and it's dark in that lamp. I prefer to this. I laughed. I was like, that was funny.
That was hilarious.
The dancing part when he's just controlling him was kind of funny. There was like, it was so silly that you almost had to like.
It was very Will Smith.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah. It like put you in the mindset like Hitch, like when they're dancing.
Yeah, Hitch, and even the Fresh Prince, just like his spirit.
100%. When he had the line in there when he said when he was trying to spit game to Dahlia, and he was like, I noticed you noticing me, which is a Fresh Prince line, 100%. And now it just took me back to the show, and I was like, yes, they brought in the Fresh Prince line.
So funny.
I know he probably gets tired of like people being like Fresh Prince, but it's like, that's Will Smith. So many people's childhood, like, you know what I mean, Will Smith is Fresh Prince, so
for sure.
So that was dope. When they were about to arrest Jafar, and you just heard Iago go like, rub the lamp.
Yeah.
I was dying there too, like
He
was stressing, but that was funny. Like I said, favorite part was the Fresh Prince thing, and then the end. So the end of the original Aladdin, when he frees Genie, is another one of my favorite Disney moments.
Yeah.
Like, that was the part that always like teared up, like when he's like, I free you, Genie, and he like, and Genie starts tearing up and they hug at the end or whatever. Like, that was always like a really sentimental part of the original one. This one, they didn't completely mess it up. It was still sentimental for this one. It wasn't as like powerful as the first one.
Right.
But they didn't screw it up.
Because they felt rushed a little bit, but you're right. They screwed it up.
They didn't completely mess that up. I also, one other thing that I hated, before I get to the conclusion, is that I didn't like them continually referring to Raja as a cat. That was weird. I didn't like that. Like, just call him a tiger. I don't know. My dog's name. So my dog that we've had for 12 years. 12 years this year. Got her when I was in 8th grade and stays with my parents. She's a little Pekingese poodle, a peekapoo. She's like 6 pounds. So I didn't get to choose what type of dog we got, like, which it's for the best that we got a small dog. But I wanted to get like a big, at the time I want a big dog and all this stuff, and my mom and sister won out on getting a small one, so I got to at least name it. So I got to name it Nala Raja. Was the name I gave it.
Smart.
So yeah, I gave her. So
I love that.
So I thought about it. I always think about that when I see.
Wait, who's your favorite Lion King character ever of all time?
Lion King character?
I know this is like off topic, but I'm just curious.
I don't. You know what? That is a good question. I don't know
We
if
just
I'm
say
trying
it.
to think who my favorite character is. Probably Rafiki.
Okay.
Yeah, I probably gotta
Rafiki's-
go Rafiki.
Do you remember Vitani? Nobody remembers Vitani, man. But she was from Lion King
Since
2.
2? Yeah, from the second one.
Yeah.
Which
She was like Kobo's stepsister.
Oh
or
yeah,
sister.
yeah.
I loved her.
She was dope.
I
Yeah.
love her so
The second one is dope too. The second one is very good.
I
It's
really love it.
underrated.
It's one of the only like second movies that I actually like.
It was solid. It's hard to make a second movie.
Like,
When the One Day When You're Big and Strong, You Will Be a King. When she
yes,
sung that, that's my jam.
The one about God, I can't think about it right now. But it's the one between Kiara and her dad, Kiara and Simba.
Oh,
saying,
yeah.
Like, can I like? Will I ever just be me? Basically, I don't
Yeah.
know what the song is called.
Yeah.
But that song
It's
makes
a
me
jam.
cry.
It's some jams in there. You Pandy is a jam from there.
Yes.
Uh,
Look, we're off topic.
yeah,
I'm
we
sorry.
are. Yeah, that's I'm just going through like
I can't
the
wait
whole
to listen
time.
to the Lion King one.
Right. So that one that better be good. So in conclusion, I've said this before on here. You need to make a case. When you make a sequel, you need to make a case for why you're doing it. Same thing with a remake. I think you need to like make us say, okay, this makes sense. Like this story was enhanced by you continuing it. Or for a remake, okay, this makes sense. You added some pieces. Like maybe technology is better now, so now you can do it a little bit better. Whatever the case is, you need to make it a case for not just like we're just trying to capitalize on making more money off of the previous success.
For sure.
I didn't think they did that with this one. It didn't like. I didn't need this one. Like
Yeah.
without this one, it didn't.
It was boring.
It was boring. It wasn't captivating. It didn't enhance anything for me.
For sure.
Like I said, they're continuing with the female forward thing. With the song,
They executed it horribly though.
executed it
I'd
horribly.
rather you depict me as like an oppressed
Yeah.
woman than try to do what they did, because that honestly,
Then have
at
her
least,
say-
do you want to know why though? I genuinely mean what I just said.
Yeah.
Because at least nowadays, the people who matter to me
Mhm.
will be able to challenge, the image of the oppressed woman and be like, that's
Yeah.
not true. But like a lot of people who matter to me today, because they don't know much about my culture,
Mhm.
and I call them the fencers. Those are the people who are on the fence about their opinions. Like,
Yeah.
well, but really believe that that's what it is, because that's a more believable story. Like
Yeah.
the way Jasmine, the way they depict her, that's way more believable, and
Yeah.
it's still not true.
Yeah.
But people are much more likely to like accept that as truth because it's not as controversial.
Right.
It doesn't seem as controversial.
Right.
And so it kind of frustrates me a little more because like, oh no.
That is dangerous. And then also if you're someone who heard like, oh yeah, they had a whole council for this,
Mhm.
you're gonna take this and run with it.
Yeah, absolutely.
You're gonna take this. This is Bible to you. now.
Absolutely.
So yeah, that is true.
Really quickly, did you hear the fact long time ago about I don't know how long it was, but there was like this survey that went out asking people if the United States should invade Agrabah, and like 73% of the people said yeah. And I'm like, bro, who wants to tell them?
Yeah, it's
Who wants to-
fictional. Yeah. Wow.
And it just honestly, I'm so glad somebody did that, because it just goes to show you how powerful the media is.
Yeah.
And like depicting this fake land as this like aligned, like basically like this Arab or Middle Eastern or whatever.
Right,
like,
right.
And like given Islamophobia and anti-Arab
Right,
sentiment,
right.
people just thought the obvious answer was we should just,
Yeah.
of course we should.
Yeah.
If it's anything like it is in the movie,
Yeah.
of course we should.
As you're talking through this, I'm wondering, like, I might have seen something
It
about
was
that.
so funny.
That's wild.
I was
yeah.
crying.
That is crazy. I hate the media, and I don't mean this in a political sense. I just not just political media, but like even sports and music and pop culture media, like any type of media any type of news. If it comes on, if it has a regular cadence, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like here's how my mind thinks. If it has a regular cadence, especially if it comes on every day,
Right.
no matter what, they have to talk about something.
Yeah.
Right? And these people have jobs and they get paid a lot of money.
Mm-hmm.
So, and obviously, like negative stories, certain things that they recognize in trends gets more views. So if I'm getting paid based off of views and not based off of truth, then which one am I going to go for? Like this is natural business, like just going through a natural, like if I'm like natural business thinking. You're gonna do what works, just like any other business.
Mm-hmm.
So you're not gonna spew a bunch of positive stuff because that's not gonna get a ton of views, right? If you just have oh, this kid got really good grades, and oh, someone from Dearborn went to Harvard, first girl from Fordson, like that's not gonna get a crazy amount of views versus like a murder or anything like that really controversial stuff. So if that's what we know, these are facts. Like you could look at numbers and these are facts that more negative news gets more views. Then you know that okay, if I want to keep my job and I want what's gonna get pressed out there more. So if that's the case, even with sports, I'm not going with regular like daytime news, but sports. What gets more views and more clicks? I know when I look at my phone and I go on the ESPN app, I'm going to be more apt to look at an announcer making or an analyst making a super crazy claim. Jordan is the 50th best player of all time. That's a crazy statement.
Yeah.
But because you said that, now I'm like, okay, what is this fool saying, right? Instead of getting one that says, instead of saying, these are, Jordan's a really great player, and these are some of his top plays. I might watch it, but it's like, oh, I've seen that before. Like, I don't know if I'm necessarily like, Stephen A. Smith, praises how the Warriors play great team basketball. Probably not going to click that. Stephen A. Smith blasts, Max Kellerman about his opinions about how Steph Curry isn't a great shooter.
Right.
That's wild. Like, let me see that. That's what that's clickbait, like you said.
Yeah.
So if that's the case, then I know that I'm not getting the full truth a lot of times with media. So you're not getting like an unbiased, like these are facts.
For sure.
These are facts laced with my opinion. So completely not off topic, but going sideways from what we were saying. But no, it's important though. I wonder if I was watching this, and even if you're going in with a completely like fresh palette. And you don't go in like how we were, like, okay, this is going to suck.
Yeah.
There was a point, I'd say, like, right around Genie introduction, where no matter who you are, you're like, this movie is bad and it's not redeemable. Like it was a point in there where I'm like, no matter what they do from this point on, this movie sucks. All right?
So true.
Like, so...
It's true, because my brother, actually, I went with a group of people. My brother loves Aladdin.
Yeah.
And as soon as he heard me make, like, a snide remark before we walked into the theater about, like, oh, they're probably going to be, like, appropriating our culture, he's like, you're not sitting by me, because I love Aladdin. I don't want to hear any of this woke shit right now. Right? And my brother's super woke, but in that moment, he just wanted to relive his Disney childhood. So I'm like, fine, I'm not going to sit by you.
Yeah, right.
So I go sit on the other side. When we leave, he's like, man, that was trash. And so I'm like, why? He's like, I don't even know how it was trash. I don't even know why it was trash. I don't know, like, how it, like, dropped the ball, but I just know that it did.
Yeah.
And I don't even know what I was expecting, but they just didn't do it.
You're
like,
right.
that's such a... Because it's just not tangible. Like, it's just
so
your
true,
feeling. You're just like...
That's so true. That's funny. Yeah, your brother's like me sometimes. Sometimes like, man, I don't even want to hear the woke stuff. I get it. I know it. Like my sister, she which I actually sent her and told her to check out your podcast and stuff. So she absolutely. She got her master's. Shout out to my sister. So proud of my sister. She got her master's in clinical mental health counseling from Northwestern last December. And she did her final presentation, which she sent to me at 1:30 in the morning to make it look nice on a PowerPoint for the next morning. Is she younger than you? Yeah. Okay, that's what you're there for. Yeah, right, exactly. She's like, yeah, thank you so much! Exclamation points. It's like 1:30. I'm like, I'm trying to sleep. Yeah, I need this by 8 in the morning. All right, so like, let me go and like get some graphics and make this look nice. But she did it on how minority women, how they don't seek mental health, and how it's talked about in the culture and code switching and all that. So again, it made me think a lot about your first guest on your podcast and her going off to Harvard and having to adjust and things like that. So it made me think a lot about that in her presentation or her final presentation or capstone project for her master's. So but yeah, so sometimes she'll be saying woke stuff, and I'm like, I know, I agree, but like, can I just enjoy like this stupid show or this stupid movie like as it is? So I can definitely relate. I think Disney should only make alternatives or remakes with CGI live action films for either one, for spin-off films. So like Maleficent is a spin-off where it's focusing on the villain of an untold story of a villain from Sleeping Beauty. So that's good because it's original, so we can't compare it to anything.
For sure.
So either A, do that, or B, remake lesser Disney films. So films that don't have a lot of so Dumbo, right? So Dumbo is a known film, but it's a film that even though they missed the mark, they messed up Dumbo too. But Dumbo's one of those films that's not everyone's favorite. Like you know what it is, you heard of it, you know the story of Dumbo. Like he has big ears, he's an elephant, he can fly. But no one's gonna be super upset if you change up the story of Dumbo. They messed it up, but that was an opportunity where you take a lesser film and then catapult it. Don't take these classic films that everyone thinks is, touts as perfect, like a Lion King. Again, I hope they don't mess it up. Hopefully, so with Lion King they don't have real people.
They need to binge eat something that night.
I'm gonna be hot. I'm gonna be so high. It's gonna ruin a great weekend if they mess up Lion King. So it looks, everything looks good on it so far. And the good thing about Lion King is it's all CGI, so they don't have to worry about the fake like with people and stuff.
If you have Beyonce, you have Childish Gambino. Like, how are you gonna?
Come on, you can't mess it up.
They're not gonna mess it up.
And that one. So another thing too is, don't make live action remakes with movies that have a ton. When the original movies have a ton of animated effects.
Yeah. Lion
King doesn't, so they should be safe. There's not a ton of crazy effects. Aladdin, you have a genie that's poofing stuff all over the place.
Right.
Like that's why Never Had a Friend Like Me looks so bad.
Yeah. It's
too many effects that were done in the animated version for you to try to recreate with real people, and it just looks dumb. You're turning a monkey into an elephant, cartoon, snap a finger, someone who can draw, animation. With CGI and real people, and you're trying to make it look real, but also we know it's fake. Like, that's tough. Lion King, like I said, there's not any of that, other than like when Simba's like talking to his father in the clouds. Like, again, I can like cite certain stuff because it's like you see it so many times when he sees his reflection in the water. Other than that type of stuff, everything else is just the animals being the animals. Right. So it almost like, again, Jungle Book, why that was so successful, there's not a ton of effects. It's just animals that are animated. So you make it CGI and it looks cool. Like I said, Jungle Book was a really good remake. I think probably the best remake they've done thus far with the live action. I would have preferred that they did a spinoff where Will could just be Will. So if you do a spinoff, Will can just be his own personality in his own script instead of trying to recreate Robin Williams' script. Because they're both great. They're both funny, but different types of funny. Robin Williams has his own brand of funny. That's not Will Smith. If you tried to watch Robin Williams do an episode of Fresh Prince, it would be horrible. Yeah. It's not that Robin Williams is so much greater than Will. He probably is a better actor, but it's not that Robin Williams is so much greater than Will Smith. It's just that he's him, right? So I think if they would have done a spinoff, it would allow Will to just be who Will is. And I think a spinoff where if they would have did like, not a spinoff, but maybe a sequel where it's like Aladdin and a genie that's free but still has his powers, goes against maybe a different kingdom with an evil Sultan, and then they freed Jafar's genie or something like that. So then it's like that would have been a good sequel where it's like now they're battling against each other.
Still familiar with like the story.
Exactly, familiar characters, same setting for the most part. But you create your own thing. Kind of Mary Poppins is a good example. They did Mary Poppins Returns, where it's still playing on a lot of the same character. They have a lot of the same characters that return, same concept, kind of a very similar script. But because it's a sequel, we're not constantly just comparing it to the original script. It's a little different. So I thought they did a good job with that. So yeah, what would you give this on a scale from 1 to 10?
4.
Okay, I give it a 5, and that was generous. I wanted to give it 4. 5 is the lowest I've ever given.
4 is like me being nice.
Yeah, it was bad. It was bad. They did a bad job with it. I hate it. And that 5 for me is really like a 1 just because I love Disney. And I'm gonna do everything I can to give it props, but it was rough. It didn't have any really redeemable qualities outside of the few lines I said I laughed at. I mean, there was nothing that made me want to rewatch this. If I were to tell, and I always go through like the viewing options of whether I would suggest for you to see opening night, $5 Tuesday, Netflix, or don't watch.
Yeah, just don't watch it. The people are gonna watch it because they're curious and it's a staple, but they're just know that when you watch it, you're gonna be disappointed. Yeah. Period.
Yeah. So I'm gonna try to help you out. Don't watch it. If you've never seen the original, just watch the original. Don't watch this one. Just watch the original.
Yeah, don't watch it.
If you've seen the original, enjoy that. Keep your memory of Disney and Aladdin
for sure.
Where it's at. So, upcoming movies that you're excited for.
Lion King.
Yeah.
I barely go to the movies, so I'm definitely very excited about Lion King. I don't care about anything else. Everything else, I'll catch it on Netflix. I'll catch it on, whenever I can watch it. Like,
Right.
not in the theaters, but Lion King I've been very excited about.
Well, you travel a good amount too, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, so I don't know if you fly Delta, but Delta,
Yeah.
the Sky movies,
Yeah, I
there's
fall
some
asleep.
solid ones and there's
I
some
fall
tough-
asleep
Oh,
like
okay.
halfway through, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm so afraid of flights, so when I get on there, I need something to take my mind off sometimes. So,
Yeah.
I'm looking forward to Ma, which is coming out next week. Actually, Yasmin brought up Ma as her movie she's looking forward to when she came on the podcast, and I hadn't heard of it, and I looked back at it. But yeah, it's what is her name? Octavia Spencer.
Okay. Cool.
She is like, it's like real creepy. It's like a horror movie,
Oh,
but
okay.
it looks interesting. So, not a horror guy at all, but this looks interesting. So I might go see it next week. I don't know if I'll review it, but it does look good. But yeah, appreciate you coming
Of
up here,
course.
everyone.
Thank you for
Again,
having
check
me.
out Dearborn Girl.
Yes, Dearborn.girl on Instagram.
Yep. Check it out on all streaming platforms,
Yes.
as well as YouTube. Until next week, thank you all. Peace.
Thank you.